Our next contest of the Better Photography Weekly Challenge is Landscape. Our judge and mentor is Mr. Soumitra Pendse. A postgraduate in inorganic chemistry, Soumitra's love for photography prompted him to pursue it as his career. His first client was Pidilite Industry, and from there on, there was no looking back. Over the years, he has worked across various genres, including food, jewelry, and landscape photography. Some of his clients include brands like McDonald, Reliance, L'Oreal, Hindustan Unilever, ITC, and Kodak, among others. Hello and welcome.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Nilofer. Okay, right. So we'll start. We'll start with this landscape, right?
Hmm.
Now this is a landscape. See, normally when you go to different countries, you hardly get any time to shoot the pictures. So you have to be prepared with everything promptly. You should have the basic equipment like tripods, cable relays, and all those things, lenses, different lenses. Now, if you take this particular picture, I had about like 15-20 minutes to shoot this particular picture. Had a very limited time because of the time constraint. So when I reached there, the light was too contrasty basically. There were a lot of cloudy things were happening. There were a lot of sunshine was happening. So I had decided to shoot this particular picture in HDR format. Uh, for this particular picture, I've used 17 tilt shift lens, which I could shift and create a panorama of the same this thing, because it was very difficult to capture the beauty of the nature in this particular shot. So there are basically two things in this shot. One is you have to shift your lens, extreme right, extreme left, and the center, and then you stitch the image to get 10.5 approximately focal length picture, right? So you get a beautiful panorama. Now, since I told you the weather was very unpredictable there, so I had to shoot three different exposures for each picture. Had to get it on the system, make HDR, create one picture, then another picture, then another picture. So there are total 9 pictures involved in this particular panorama. So that's the reason I could get clouds on the left hand side. If you see the sky, you will get a rainy cloud basically. At the right hand side, you will find a sunshine kind of thing basically, blue sky and everything. So that was a basic challenge when I reached there, and this I had to finish it like maximum 15 to 20 minutes. So that was the biggest challenge in this particular picture. But thankfully, I succeeded. That's what I feel. I succeeded to get this particular picture. Instead of shooting one picture, I shot 9 pictures, and out of 9 pictures, I created this particular picture. Yeah. So we'll move to the next slide now. Uh, Here also, this is a picture at Arizona, and this is a Antelope Canyon. Now, this particular picture, again, we had a very much time constraint. Like, we had about 20-25 minutes to explore the cave because there are a lot of tourists moving around, there are a lot of dust happening. So, you have to have very high patience to shoot this particular picture. There are various beautiful light and shadow play happening in these pictures, both the pictures. If you see the left hand side picture, you will find in the middle of the sun, you will find a sun ray down, and on the right hand side, you will find the flare of the lens also on the top, because of the top, sorry, it was about 11 a.m. or something. And then I wanted to capture the sand. Now, capturing the sand or freezing the sand is not going to suffice my kind of purpose. So I suggested to use ND filters. Now, what ND filters will work? They will slow down your shutter speed. So the flow of the sand you will get in a very nice way, like water flow of the waterfalls kind of thing. And that's what the most interesting part in the picture. You have various light and shadow, you have highlights, you have shadow portion, you have nice texture of the stone to be captured basically, and then a nice flow of the sand. So this is also very interesting picture according to me. It's very lively picture. It's not dead picture. There's no human being, there's no nothing, there's no what you say human element in the picture. Still it looks very lively picture because of the flow of the sand. So that's this thing. On the left hand side, you will find various texture of the stone. Now, capturing texture of the stone is not a joke. So you need to have 2 or 3 pictures together and then combine and make HDR out of it. So you will get a nice tonal quality, because inside you cannot do lighting, you cannot do anything inside. You just take a tripod camera and you should know what is to be shot. That's a second picture. Now, if you go to move to third picture, now this was the most challenging picture according to me, because I reached there when there was no golden light. There was nothing. I reached there at almost like 2 p.m. or something. It was very sunny and harsh light, and there was a lot of reflection from the stone. So, you couldn't see. Now, how to remove reflection from the stone? Use a polarizer filter. So what polarizer filters will do, everybody knows. They will take out the reflection on the stone. You will get a nice, details of the stone, color of the stone, unnecessary reflection from the even trees. Everything goes away, and you get a very clean picture. Now, in this particular picture, the composition is also really important. It's like typical rule kind of picture where you have the passing lines, little at 45 degrees. Then you have a straight line, and the tree is placed on a, or like on the right hand side, like 1/3 of the part basically. There is a 1/3 rule basically I have applied here basically, and this is a very simple picture. But see, ultimately you should know. See, once we are not a dedicated landscape. I'm not a dedicated landscape photographer. Where I go there, I stay there for 5 days, I shoot one picture and come back. No, I have a limited time constraint. I have my commitment. So I get 10 to 15 minutes per shot, or maybe 5 minutes at the most. So your brain has to be trained if you're doing landscape photography. When you see the landscape, you should know what to capture basically. Instead of wasting time, you should know, okay, this is what I want. This is the composition I want. Okay, this is the lighting I want basically. See, light is not in our control basically, right? But controlling the light is in our control, using polarizers, using gradual neutral density filters, using neutral density filters. There are three basic filters which I would recommend to all landscape photographers. That must have filters basically, along with lenses and everything, any which way. So this is the kind of picture I created, 1/3, 2/3 typical ratio, and this is shot by the telephoto lens. Normally, landscape pictures, normally, by and large, whenever we see with the wide angle lenses. You have sceneries and all those things. But certain pictures you can create really beautiful effect with telephoto lenses. It compresses the view, basically, it gets everything closer. So this is the picture. Now, if you move, this is now, let's move to the next picture. Now, this is the picture where I would say this is the typical shot of golden light. It's golden over the what? Early morning and late evening during sunset, right? So the left-hand side picture is, I think, Monument Valley at Arizona, where I was traveling. The same thing. I had 15 minutes before sun goes away. And then, I saw this particular monument lit up with sunlight, and I had to use immediate telephoto lens, and I shot this picture. Same on the right hand side picture. It's I think Yosemite Valley, California, from tunnel view. Yeah, it is also same thing. You will find a golden rays on the peak of the, what you say is half dome. That is known as half dome. That particular portion. So that creates an interest in the picture. Now, if you see on the right hand side picture, you will find this thing. These all pictures are later processed on various softwares, not necessarily Photoshop or something. I use minimal Photoshop basically. These are basically processed raw images processed into with different software like Luminar or DxO optics. So there are various softwares available. You can make use of them and create such beautiful images basically. After once you come back, my suggestion: don't shoot anything in JPEG. Whatever you want to shoot in complete raw format, and then you can come back with the images. You can sit on a PC or Mac, and then you can create a beautiful image out of it using a new softwares. There are a lot of AI softwares now which are coming up today. So in fact, this picture must be like what you're seeing is thanks to software. It is looking so beautiful actually. So I would say my effort was like 15% or 20%. 80% is the software, honestly. To be very honest with you, it's like you have to blend yourself with the software to create such images. So that's the thing. But then you should have a right eye, you should have a right equipment, and you should be there on the right time, and you should know when to shoot. You should know the sun movement. See, there are basic things you should know as a landscape photographer. Now let's move to Next image is, yeah. This is the image. This is typically wide angle image. Now, as everybody knows, wide angle has a property where it shows everything. You know, it's far. It looks very far. So there is nothing at foreground. Now, particularly when you are shooting with wide angle image, there has to be interesting foreground. There has to be flow in the image. The kind of lava which is flowing and taking you towards the this thing, smoke and a mountain at the background basically. That's important. Just imagine if there is no lava, the picture would look dull. Basically, if there is no if there is a blank foreground, the picture will look dull. There has to be stone patterns, trees, or something you have to accommodate in the foreground of the wide angle frame to create an interesting effect. See, using wide angle lenses is no joke actually. They are very tricky. They can spoil your image, they can ruin your image, or they can make your image looks just amazing. So there are two extremes with wide angle lenses. So one should know that okay, what is to be placed in foreground. That is important. The place have the this thing, the place is important. It should be on the right hand side or left hand side, one third, two third. You have to calculate and then create an image. These are the images which are created like in like 1 minute or 2 minutes, not more than that. These are not like just, I would say they are like snapshots. Only thing, your presence of mind should know, which shouldn't the composition, like, one third I kept this, two third I kept the foreground, one third I kept the background. If you go to this image. And the colors, basically. You have to play with the colors. This is also like uh, shot by the afternoon, like, about 12 noon or something. It's not like early morning or late evening shot, basically. Because you never know, what time you're going to reach to that particular place, unless you plan your travel, right? So I would suggest plan your travel in a proper way. That this is like 15 years old images. These are not new images. So nowadays I plan my travel and then accordingly reach on particular destination at particular time. And before that I study the location, where is going to be sun movement and all those things. So these are like advanced things. But you can always create a good snapshot with a regular camera. You don't need to have the very fancy equipment. That's now let's move to this image. Now this image, I think I shot this at Yumthang Valley, Sikkim. And interesting part is there was a lot of clouds happening. Actually, the weather is very unpredictable after 12 o'clock in the Himalayas. It just moves. The clouds move, the rains will start, sunshine will happen. You never know basically. So now this is a typical compressed telephoto image. Now in this image, I would like to say that this image I shot. If you have shot this image wide angle lens, it would have been totally a ruined image, I would say, because I don't get any details in this image. So I had decided to go with a telephoto lens, and I think this I shot at about 200 mm or maybe 180 mm, whatever. And I could get a nice lines of the flow of the mountain which is going down, and the jungle is going down on the other side basically, and the cloud patterns are most important. Now you have to remember one thing: when you start using telephoto lenses for landscape, there are two things happen. One is haze. It's the biggest problem, at least in India. If haze compresses and your image starts looking dull, because everything compresses in telephoto. Thankfully, Himalaya, there is no much haze happening, so I could get a good images. And you have to check the cloud pattern all the time. This thing, how they are emerging, how the clouds are emerging, or the fog is emerging. You will see clouds and fog in the same picture, basically. That's a interesting picture. This is the another picture. Now let's move to next picture. Now this is, I would say, this is a snapshot done with a 50 mm normal lens. Normally all landscape people, and I should have 17 mm, I should have 14 mm, I should have 16 mm. No, you can create landscape with visual. Even if you have 50 mm lens, don't have to worry, you can create marvelous landscapes basically. You should know how to use lenses basically. You should know the composition basically. This is a very simple shot, but I found it very interesting because of the colors, the grays, patterns of the Grand Teton at Wyoming, and there were the Christmas trees basically with snow-covered Christmas trees. Very interesting picture this was. There's no one point to focus for this picture. It's like snapshot. That's it. I liked it. I clicked it. There's no special care taken to shoot this picture. I just mounted my 50 mm lens I found this a very simple composition, and I clicked it. There is no, you won't find any rules applied to this particular composition. In fact, I would say sometimes you should break the rules to get a good picture, basically, visually appealing picture. It's not always one touch, two touch, and all those things. Just forget it. What your mind says, what you feel right, just go ahead and do it. Basically, you can come back and see the, and you can find your own mistakes, and you can learn from your own mistakes. That's the way I learn. I think. Let's move to next picture now. Okay, this is the picture when I was traveling. I was going by car and I suddenly saw this light happening, and it was from extremely. This is a completely side light picture. Basically, this is not frontal light. It was at 90 degree of the trees basically, and it was creating very interesting visual effects. If you see, you will find a different tonal gradations because of the side light, and it was like during almost like 4:35, maybe just before sunset or something. It was a very nice quality of light which was falling on a tree tips basically to see. So you will find different textures basically. You need to check textures in landscapes. It's not always light. You need to check textures. You need to check colors basically. You need to check light. And this is a typical, not a frontal light picture. This is a very side light picture basically. But I love the composition happening. And look at the composition. This is also shot by a telephoto lens and not by any wide angle lens. This may be 100 mm or I don't know 150 mm or whatever basically. Just to get the exact frame, I had shot this picture. So this is also an interesting picture. If you make it enlarge, it will amazing picture. Now, okay, now let's come to rainbows. Now, a lot of people shoot rainbows uh, with wide angle lens. I have seen most of the people use rainbows with wide angle lens. Entire sky is visible and all those things. But when I went to Mauritius, I happened to see this particular rainbow. It was complete, like typically two rainbows with a round half circle rainbow. Somehow I felt I was using a wide angle lens. I decided to use again a telephoto lens to shoot this particular picture. So I can compare this thing. I can make rainbow much bigger than how it looks actually basically. That's a visual impact has been created with a telephoto lens. So again, I'm repeating. Landscape doesn't mean you have to have a wide angle lenses. You should have wide angle lenses. You have normal lens. You should have telephoto lenses. Like I would suggest like 14 mm to 200 mm or maybe 300 mm max. That's more than sufficient to create a good landscape photograph. Uh, Now let's move to this is I think I shot this picture at California, Merced River. When I was walking by the river, I saw this beautifully structured stones, beautiful textures of the tree, beautiful color. Overall picture was like it was amazing, and I could immediately make that this is the picture I want. This is not a picture. This is a painting. The entire this is a painting. This is not a photograph actually. So to create a painting effect, what I had to do, I had to slow down the shutter speed. To slow down the shutter speed, I had to use ND16 or ND64. I don't remember right now, but maybe ND64 at least or more, 1000x into like 10 stops or something. That has created a very nice painting kind of effect and not a photograph kind of effect. So at times when you're shooting water flows, you need to understand basically uh, that okay, 16x or a 4x, 8x, all entities will give you different effects. I suggest you should try each and every filter before you go for a final picture because it creates a different effect. Every ND filter will have a different effect on a water flow. So you need to finalize, you need to decide, boss, this is the kind of effect I want, I'll go with this effect and I'll go with this filter. Then check the textures, check the composition and light of course too. Basically, ND filters tend to change your colors, basically shift your colors. So you need to uh, adjust those colors later once you come back from this thing. That's the reason I always keep on telling all my people or all my friends that start shooting your raw images, don't shoot JPEG images. So you can, once you're back, you can create a lot of corrections and all those things can be handled. So this is one of the picture. Now, this picture is typically shot with gradual in the picture. As everybody knows that there are two filters used in this picture. One is ND filter to create a water effect, a very dreamy effect. this thing, create slow shutter speed. But normally landscape, if you see landscape, you will find a very contrasty landscapes normally, where you have a very heavy sky, like the stop of two stops or three stop difference between the land and a sky. So what, how to go about it? So you get those beautiful graduated ND filters. What's it called? So they are like darker on the top and just white, plain white on a baseline. So you can create those. You can use those filters to create this kind of effect. So there is a contrast which is happening in the sky and water, or sky and land, just diminishes basically, and you get a very uniform tonal picture basically. So there is, you don't need to use HDR or something for such kind of technique. When you have this kind of filters, you can use the filters and create one-shot image. So this is interesting to know. Normally nowadays, because maybe I'm from the film era, so we didn't have choice of HDR and all those things. We always use different filters to create impact on the picture, basically. So I still have good, very good quality Zeiss or something, some good brand filters, which can be used as a ND, graduated ND. So graduated ND, and polarizer are must-have filters when you are shooting landscapes photography. If you don't, please go ahead and buy. Even cheap filters will do, but you will know what I'm talking. So you don't need to shoot 9 or 10 images to create one image. You can create one image with one in one single shot, basically. If you have those filters and if you know the knowledge of how to use the filter. Now let's move to next. Now this is actually a shot at Neil Island, Andaman. Yeah. This is a moonrise picture, and we friends were like chatting, and there was nothing, and just happened to look at my this thing back, and I saw this wonderful tree and a moonrise, basically. So see, now look at the tree, look at the flow of the tree. See, in composition, this is a very typical composition, nice composition picture basically. You see there are trees, we have branches which are coming from both the ends, which are going down and upwards. Basically on right hand side, you will find moon with very nice cloud patterns, basically, and which creates a very nice, interesting effect. Look at the sky, color of the sky. This is very, very interesting. When you are going far away from polluted cities, and you're totally into nature, you will really find a beautiful sky, basically, which you will really enjoy while shooting. And then take couple of exposures, like underexposed, overexposed, and you can come back and check later on, basically. But don't leave the opportunity of shooting. Now, this is the picture. Mm, the two pictures, Milky Way, right? And you will not believe, this picture is shot from place called Kachurli, near Nasik. This is not any foreign picture. This is very much from Maharashtra. Only thing, uh, you need to have couple of things in mind. This, if you are planning to shoot Milky Way or star trails, there's a requirement of basic requirement of the equipment. Like you have a proper SLR, a proper cable release, a sturdy tripod basically, and on top of that, you should have a lot of patience to sit in the jungle, killing mosquitoes, and and enjoy your photography. That's a worst part basically. But okay, I love to do that. In fact, this picture was shot, and normally, for your knowledge, I'm telling you, there are two things if you're looking at stargazing or this kind of pictures. You get a lot of apps nowadays on telephone where pollution of the light. Where is the minimum pollution of the light and where is the maximum pollution of the light. So use those apps and find out the right spot. Reach there, arrange everything, be safe, most important. If you are shooting this galaxy kind of Milky Way kind of picture, I would suggest in India, from India, the ideal time would be March to May. So only this 3 months you get, March, April, and May, and then it becomes cloudy and you can't see the in June. So plan your trip, uh, and do beautiful. You'll get beautiful shots. You don't have to travel to USA, or you don't have to travel to Singapore or anywhere. No, from India, from Nasik, from Maharashtra, like 3 hours drive from here, and you get this picture. Basically. Stacking of images you can shoot in RAW. I recommend 1600 ISO or 800 ISO with 2.8 opening lens, wide angle lens with good quality lens. I would suggest like 17 mm, 14 mm, ideally. Uh, Now, if you go to see if you find something at the foreground, just use a flashlight, light up, painting with the light. Just walk with it. As you have a 30-second exposure or maybe 1 minute exposure or 2 minute exposure, you just walk with a flashlight and paint the tree basically. It will create a beautiful impact on the image basically in Milky Way by shooting Milky Way. So there are various techniques. Now, if you come to on a second picture, a right hand side picture, you will find there are star trails and the Milky Way in the background basically. So what I did is, I don't remember, like must be 15, 10 minutes exposure or 15 minutes exposure continuously. No stacking of it, it's a single shot basically. Shot in a raw basically, but when Milky Way is in the background and you can see the star trails like this thing, and you will find a tree just to create a little impact of this thing, make it more interesting composition wise. Now, I would say my passion, my personal passion is black and white photography. According to me, all those colored images are useless. According to me, absolutely. I love black and white images. You look at the tono quality. Now, in black and white images, since we used to shoot on film, the knowledge of the filter in black and white is very, very important. Even if you're working on a system, computer, if you're using Photoshop or any of the softwares for your processing of the images, you should know how the red color is going to reflect on the colors of the scene, how the yellow filter is going to use K52 typically, how it's going to react on the screen, a green filter, a blue filter. So now they react exactly opposite. So sky is blue. So if I'm using an orange filter, sky is going to go very dark. How you can see now, right now. Now this is a digital image, of course. This is not a shot on a film or something. This is a digital image, but you can see the contrast between the subject and the sky. Sky is it was a deep blue sky. It was an amazing sky. So I used openly used orange filter and the stone pattern. What you can see, it's a Bryce Canyon in Utah, and the stones were of orange color. But now you can see that because the orange color has compensated for that orange, and it has become almost white, and the sky has become dark. That's the beauty of the black and white. Black and white, you can play black and white. So it's amazing black and white images. For example, if you go to happen to go to any website of Ansel Adams, you'll find amazing black and white work. It's amazing black and white. And those zone system, and you have to shoot a very different, very different way. Basically, his perspective was different. You have to take inspiration from such senior photographers. You have to see their work, understand, and you can create a lot of good images. Now, this is the last image I would like to emphasize. Look at the tonal quality of the screen. This is early morning shot. I think this is I shot it from Munnar Hill, morning like 5:30 or 6, 5:30 or 46 or something. I reached there at top at around 2:30, and I was shooting throughout the night. And this I got it at the time of sunset. I particularly like the tonal range. So now, once you see black and white, you will see white to black. You will get n number of gray tones. N number of gray tones. In this picture, you will find whites, blacks, as well as n number of gray tones. That's the beauty of the picture. And then again, a composition, like this is like 50-50% composition. But somehow, as I told you, you don't need to stick to your rules. You can always break the rules to create a good image. You look for anything else?
Yeah, so we also have a category for cell phone photographers along with
Okay.
camera. So, do
Okay.
you have any tips for them for cell phone guys?
Of course. See, now cell phone photography basically, I would suggest now most of the cell phones create amazing images. Forget about a camera now, right? I think a couple of cell phones, they do have even raw format. They have like 50 megapixel, 100 megapixel, 20 megapixel, whatever. Uh, Only problem with the sensor, this thing sensor is a little restriction of the size of the sensor basically.
Yeah.
Correct. The quality what you get with the camera and the processing you won't get with this thing, but you don't have to be disheartened. Basically, you get amazing images with it. I've done a lot of landscape with basic landscape with my cell phone, very basic cell phone, and you get amazing images. I would suggest shoot in manual format. Don't use auto format which is given by the delivered by the camera or this cell phone company. Always use, if possible, or whatever. If you can download the apps from the app store, you can use the camera manually, so you can control in much better way. Cell phone also has now, I think, one or two lenses extra. Like you have a telephoto or you have a wide angle lens. try to use those lenses. Don't use any digital this thing, enlargement in the cell phone. I would say restrict yourself to original lens of the camera, because you tend to get 10x zoom and all this. Those are all digital zoom, not optical zoom basically. So restrict yourself to the original this thing, and you can create a beautiful this kind of pictures with the cell phone itself. You can shoot HDRs. Now the cell phone are equipped with HDRs basically. You have a small tripod and the mount of for the cell phone. You can still create a beautiful images with the cell phone. You did not have a camera. As I told you, like if you're shooting Milky Way or something, okay, you need a proper equipment to get a good result. Basically, nothing else. Cell phone is also going to give you excellent result for your social media, for your even for the printing. I would say, like if you have 10 by 12, 12 by 15 prints, they are amazing, no doubt about it.